Hi, I'm Bernie Hayes. Welcome back. My guest today is Mr. Curtis Faulkner, and we'll be talking about a lot of things today on The Bernie Hayes Show. And welcome back. My guest is Mr. Curtis Faulkner. Curtis hasn't been with us for a couple of years. Curtis, welcome back.
Thank you, Bernie. How are you today?
So good seeing you.
Always
wonderful,
good.
Wonderful. Well, as a resident of North County, Curtis, I've been hearing a lot of talk again about Jamestown Mall. Last time you were on the program, we talked about Jamestown Mall, its development. And so far, in the past 2 years I've seen you, nothing has happened at Jamestown Mall. Could you catch us up on that? What's happening?
Well, you know, there's a couple of things that we were faced with. At that time, the county didn't have control of it. There were efforts to still try to get control and to negotiate arrangements with the then 5 owners of the properties.
Okay.
And the last of which was a New York operation, Abdi Mohamdi and the Carlyle Group, that had the larger portion of the mall.
Okay.
And so they finally were able to negotiate with them to get full ownership of the mall. Then in the midst of that also, there were other concerns because then the county, they claimed that they cut the budget. But you know, the cost, once you had possession of the mall, then you had to come up with a plan to utilize the properties. What were you going to do with the properties? As well as you couldn't use the properties in their current condition because they're just so dilapidated.
Sure.
So then the cost of being able to tear it down just to get back to so-called fresh ground, that cost was between $7 to possibly $10 million because of all the asbestos and other kinds of things that EPA would require.
Sure.
And, you know, then you had the politics of it as well, because even though the community realized that that was bringing down home values as a vacant, huge 145-acre piece of vacant property, and no taxes was being yielded off of it also. Then you had the politics, with this being an election year now, of individuals who are running, our county executive, who knows that he's got to do something to sustain the support of North County.
No.
So what they've done, they put out an RFP, and
RFP meaning?
RFP means a request for proposal.
Okay.
Okay. And unfortunately, there's only been one response, North Point Development out of Kansas City.
Okay.
And they got a land grab for $2.5 million.
That's pretty cheap, isn't it?
Very cheap for 145 acres when you have surrounding properties up and down Lindbergh that are selling individually for $2.5 million themselves.
I mean, that sounds ridiculous, kind of.
So, you know, I had been pushing. I did get some support from Lacey Clay because we understood that there had to be a unique development for that.
Okay.
And so I pushed for a Heritage and Cultural Center, and I got with Mike Kennedy for a while, who was as KAI Architects. And I discussed with them trying to get a rendering to create a Heritage and Cultural Center and a multi-phase development. But phase 1 should be an African American Cultural and Heritage Center. Okay. And that would be built such that we would have space and theater space that we could invite Ron Himes to have a home, Lois Conley to have a home.
Grill Museum.
Even from the standpoint of Robert Powell at Portfolio Art Gallery.
Sure.
Of course, I had the musical piece.
Right.
Enough display space as well that allowed us to apply to the Smithsonian as a affiliate. And you can make application with Smithsonian. Most people don't know that. And as an affiliate, because of the number of pieces that they're gathering now, particularly with the African American Museum that they've developed in DC, then they're going to put that on tour.
Okay.
And so as an affiliate, then as as those artifacts and other kinds of presentations are put on tour, then you become a tour stop.
Wow, okay.
And along with that, we also asked for a 5,000-seat amphitheater so that we could begin to do concerts and stage plays and compete in our marketability with other areas that are selling heritage and cultural products.
5,000 seats, that's a big facility.
Yeah, that would be,
right.
you know, totally, you would have, and then you've got to have enough space to have other developments to complement that. You would have another commercial facilities, restaurants, and facilities that specialized in jazz and blues and
Sure.
R&B.
And food.
And food and various other kinds of shops to
Sure.
create economic opportunities
Right.
for members of the black communities of North County. As well, in doing so, you then create destination specific for those kinds of products that you now are part of your heritage.
Okay, we're kind of short of time on each segment. So what's is there a plan?
Well, the current plan is, and one we're trying to get to the table to say if we can alter that plan, is to in turn create a logistics center.
Okay.
And that's warehousing. That then, you know, has 18-wheelers running up and down Lindbergh. We've got 2 schools. We've got an elementary as well as middle school over in that area where we've got school buses running twice a day in that situation that then would have to intermingle with the 18-wheelers.
Hazelwood District, yeah.
Yes, and there's not any tax advantage because in most cases, as if they do the same thing they did in Hazelwood with the development,
Tax credit.
then they're going to get tax abatements.
Yeah.
And the abatements then say that if they maintain a certain amount of jobs, they don't have to pay property taxes. So the Hazelwood School District doesn't benefit from it. The community doesn't benefit because the warehousing doesn't add any value to the surrounding homes. So there's a lot of problem, and it doesn't give us any marketability.
So how, is there a voice in the North County community that can challenge that and to support your project?
Well, I'm attempting to be that voice. We have some other individuals that we're organizing with to be able to go to the county council and let it be known that despite the fact, and the unfortunate attitude is, you know, well, they're saying they're going to spend $100 million. Well, but it's my community.
Yeah.
And so to that point, we've got those of us, as you as well, who live there, we've got far more an investment over a longer period of time than his short-term $100 million investment.
Logistic company.
Okay.
Tell us how to reach you, Curtis.
You can reach me. My number is 314-355-1363.
Let's say that again.
314-355-1363.
Okay.
And that also is the number that I'm using. You know, we created a political action committee called the Dred Scott Advocates for Justice and Equality.
Okay.
And we're trying to put together a presentation through both a website as well as other information and activities that we will be hosting to try to educate the community and organize the community where we can understand what we need to do for our viability.
Okay, so the plaque, is that will be in conjunction with trying to develop Jamestown, or
that's
just
a major piece because it becomes it's a huge piece of property, and the marketability of it. We've got one other project in North County that complements that if it goes through, which is the Powerplex.
Okay.
And the Powerplex is going to be a sports entertainment venue. So if you can understand, on one side, if we've got a sports entertainment development, and we've got an arts entertainment development. We now have the best of both worlds.
And Jamestown Mall is just an ideal spot for each.
That's correct. And now we have destination specific accomplished to where we are special. We have to be unique because we're the farthest quadrant of the St. Louis County, farthest northern quadrant. And so if you go in doing things like other facilities, it's not going to be special enough. If we went in and tried to duplicate Northwest Plaza, well, people are not going to pass Northwest Plaza to come to North County. That's one of the reasons why Jamestown struggles so bad as a mall.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
We got to take just a very short break here, but I'll come back and talk to some other things. In fact, I understand that you're now a member of the school district. I'll be talking about. My guest is Curtis Faulkner, and we're here at the New Life Evangelistic Center. The New Life Evangelistic Center, 2428 Woodson Road in Overland, Missouri, although Reverend Larry Rice is still attempting to get the old facility open at 1411 Locust Street, downtown St. Louis. And we appreciate all the support that you've been giving us. But we still need your help and support because we're still providing the same programs that we did downtown, feeding the hungry, providing clothing, paying utility bills. And you can help us through Post Office Box 473, St. Louis, Missouri, 63166, and or online at New Life Evangelistic Center, it's one word, newlifeevangelisticcenter.org. American Express, MasterCard, Visa, Discover Card. Takes less than 2 minutes for an investment in the New Life Evangelistic Center. Back with Curtis Faulkner after this.
God's word for you today is Zechariah 4:6. It's not by might nor by power, but by my Spirit, saith the Lord. Not by might nor by power, but by my Spirit, saith the Lord. I don't feel much might lately. I don't feel much power lately, but I do feel the Holy Spirit. I thank God for His Holy Spirit. I thank God that He will not leave us alone, but He'll send the Comforter, the Holy Spirit. What a mighty God we're serving. So you may be going through some very difficult times, such as I find myself going through, but it's great to know that He will never leave us nor forsake us. I have found the Word of God to be true. For so many years, God has just demonstrated His faithfulness. What does He ask for us? Not to get weary in well-doing, not to give up, but to give it to God. But through all these difficulties, He is there to teach us. He's there to strengthen us. So the real battle in life is not on what's happening out there, but what's happening in here. Can we win that battle on our knees? Can we go to Him right now in prayer? Can we surrender it all to Him? As I do that, I see God working in a mighty way, and I know He'll do the very same thing in your life if you'll just do it.
Give generously to the poor, and do so without a grudging heart. Then because of this, the Lord your God will bless you in all your work and in everything you put your hand to. There will always be poor people in the land. Therefore I command you to be open-handed toward your brothers and toward the poor and needy in your land.
Hello, I'm Larry Rice, and I'm inviting you to join me daily on the New Life Facebook page. Something new, something exciting every day. So go to facebook.com/NewLifeSTL and discover what's happening on a daily basis as New Life Evangelistic Center begins to share with you a wide variety of subjects. I look forward to visiting you on the Facebook page. Remember, there's so much just waiting for you at that particular page.
For just 80 cents a day, you can help many people in need all around the world. That's only $24 a month. The New Life Evangelistic Center wants you to help feed the hungry and shelter the homeless by joining Club 24. For $24 a month, you can be a part of touching people's lives. For just 80 cents a day, you can make a difference in someone's life. Call 314-881-3210 or give online at newlifeevangelisticcenter.org.
And welcome back. My guest is Curtis Faulkner. We've been talking about the development or proposed development or hopeful development of Jamestown Mall, but Curtis is also involved in so many other things. And Curtis, I saw recently you were sworn in for something on the school board or something like that?
The Special School District.
Okay.
The St. Louis Special School District serves 22 different districts around the St. Louis County area. Mm-hmm. And they provide services for kids and families that have special needs, whether they be psychological or physical, those things that we find ourselves confronted with. Trauma now, as an example, is one of the larger issues that many people don't realize.
And it's also a disability, right?
And it's a disability,
yeah,
know. And I've always said that, particularly as blacks in America, we suffer psychologically from two known mental diseases, Stockholm Syndrome and post-traumatic slave syndrome.
Hey, would you explain each briefly?
Well, the Stockholm Syndrome is when you have to adjust your actions to your capturer's desires for the feeling of maintaining your safety. Okay? The post-traumatic slave syndrome is one that stimulates from the kinds of pathologies and the treatments that we've had in maintaining separate and unequal realities. And so those kinds of experiences have created a certain aspect of negativism, a certain aspect of disbelief in ourselves, to be able to move beyond those things that have been previously our realities. You know, white privilege is what we talk about in reference to life being different, opportunities being extended differently.
Sure.
The abilities for income are drastically less. Our educational obtainments have been different. So all of those things have created a psychology that oftentimes creates a negative outlook on life.
Okay.
And, you know, we talk about how difficult it is to trust in each other and believe in each other, and how if we start things, well, there's no sense in doing it because there's going to be white folks who are going to dismantle that, you know. And we've had that history of those kinds of things because of the pathologies. And so we still are struggling to get beyond that and to see ourselves as equals and to be able to move forward. Now, having said that, one other thing that I often advocate is the question that I say, which is the most important for we as blacks in America: are we citizens yet? Because there's a difference between being a citizen and a subject. And that has been written. Arthur Roberts, back in 1996, wrote a Yale Law Review report on the two. And she quickly identified the fact that we are not citizens, as was stated in the original Constitution, that we're not citizens. We were chattel property when all of the amendments of the Constitution originally was written, so it wasn't written for us, as Dred Scott's case proved to him.
Okay.
So we've never asked that question. We've made, you know, and they say if you work under this term of assumption, what that means.
Okay. Will that question be asked? And also, before we run out of time again, you, the Juneteenth Heritage and Jazz Foundation, for many, many years, you the CEO, and then you discovered it more or less, or what word am I looking for?
Well, I just promote. I have had the last 30 years of helping foster the advancement of knowledge of the values.
Right,
of Juneteenth.
and you're from Texas. Actually, you brought that idea from Texas. Okay. So what's happening with Juneteenth now? I mean, what's the foundation happening? Is the state ever going to fund you like you've been asking?
We don't know. And we've asked the governor, or we've told him that we've run into a lot of conversation that has not been backed up by the will.
Okay.
You know, and the last governor that we had that seemingly had the will to do the right thing was Bob Holden. We haven't had a governor since, and we haven't had a legislature that in turn had the will. And, you know, I mean, there are thoughts about, you know, if we can give them a little money to get them out the way, but it doesn't give you enough to be successful in building a supply side product, which Juneteenth has that value.
But you did get the state to recognize it.
Yes, it is a state official holiday, but even without the funding that the legislation called for, it's clearly stated in the legislation that an appropriation shall, and shall is the operative word opposed to may.
It's just on paper.
Yes. Okay. And so when it came down to that, then those particular appropriations, those funds, it takes money to educate.
Sure.
Even beyond just creating an event that becomes a celebratory kind of event that in turn brings revenues to the table and tourism values to the table, you also have to educate people. And so to be able to tell the story of Juneteenth, to be able to give the values and the histories as to how it started and what those kinds of things were to produce in reference to its origination, you know, there are things that have to be done, and that requires money. Even if you're talking about putting it in a pamphlet form, it costs money to develop those pamphlets, to distribute them statewide.
Just for educational purposes?
You know, just for educational purposes.
Yeah, so once again, Curtis, you're involved in so much, and but there's that one common phone number is where to get you, right?
That's the best way to contact.
What number is that?
Yeah, 314-355-1363.
Now, okay, that's either... even if they need assistance in the special school district?
That's correct.
They can call you that same number?
That's correct.
And the Juneteenth Foundation?
Yes.
And also the development of Jamestown Mall?
That's right.
You're a very busy guy.
and ain't getting paid a dime.
Well, let me ask you this, Curtis. We don't have that too much left in this segment. I've been knowing you for many, many years, and you've always been struggling. And struggling is a captive word, I guess a deceptive word, but you've always been assertive in trying to do these wonderful things for the Juneteenth Foundation and for African American people, for Jamestown Mall. Why?
Well, I made a commitment many years ago. Martin King was killed on my 17th birthday, and I tell people it may sound strange in reference to the dominant motivations that all of us have at some point in time that we make commitments to. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, my grandmother told me as I pulled over that day and I cried with tears meeting as big as biscuits under my chin, something popped into my mind and my grandmother said, any time that God takes away something of value that's good, he always replaces with something equal or better. Mm-hmm. And since King was killed on my 17th birthday, I took as a 17-year-old young guy fully immersed in the civil rights movement, I took that upon being my responsibility to continue that work mm-hmm. and to be able to bring about certain solutions toward the efforts that Dr. King had advocated.
Wonderful, great answer too. My guest is Curtis Faulkner, and we have another segment to go with Curtis, but in the meantime, I'd like to see if you've recognized this. This is called the Bernie Hayes Show Cup. It's a mug, and a lot of people ask me about them. A lot of people say they want to get them, and I sincerely hope that you will get one because it supports the New Life Evangelistic Center and the programs that we developed here. But instead of me telling you about it, let's listen to the man who's been helping you for nearly 50 years, Reverend Larry Rice.
You're watching the Bernie Hayes Show. You want to help continue to support that program. You want us to be able to continue to keep getting it out. We need to get you directly involved at this time. And that's why I want to encourage you to share your $24 gift now. Yes, with the New Life Evangelistic Center at P.O. Box 473, St. Louis, Missouri, 63166. And our way of saying thank you for helping to keep the Bernie Hayes program on the air and helping us to get into the 1411 Locust Building to help the hurting and the homeless. We want to send you this very special Bernie Hayes mug. There's just a limited number of them, so you want to get involved now. So send your $24 gift, include that note. We won't know that you want the mug if you don't include the note, to the New Life Evangelistic Center, P.O. Box 473, St. Louis, Missouri, that's 63166. And again, let's continue to keep Bernie on the air. And we can do that as you continue to pray for all of us here at New Life Evangelistic Center and support this work at this time. It's critical that we hear from you. It's New Life Evangelistic Center, P.O. Box 473, St. Louis, Missouri, 63166.
We'll be rejoining our guests after this, but today's subject is Mr. Crispus Attucks. Crispus Attucks was an African-American man killed during the Boston Massacre and thus believed to be the first casualty of the American Revolution. A 1750 ad in the Boston Gazette sought the recovery of a runaway slave named Crispus. But all that is definitely known about Attucks is that he was the first to fall during the Boston Massacre, March 5th, 1770. His murder thus made him the first casualty of the American Revolution. Quickly becoming known as the Boston Massacre, the episode further propelled the colonies toward the war with the British. In 1888, Crispus Attucks, a monument was unveiled in Boston Common. The first man to die, African American, Crispus Attucks.
Now you can take NLEC TV anywhere as you put the NLEC TV app on your iPhone or mobile device. NLEC TV is an innovative TV station that's on the cutting edge of community service. When you tune in to NLEC TV, you'll discover a television station that has been operated by previously homeless individuals who've received broadcast training through New Life Evangelistic Center's unique on-the-job training program. On NLEC TV, you'll discover wholesome family, community, renewable energy, and inspirational programming. Those needing energy assistance, food, clothing, or freedom from the cycle of homelessness will find that plus much more on NLEC TV. Now, you can receive NLEC TV by going to 24.2 on your television set or putting the NLEC TV app on your iPhone or mobile device. For further information, call 314-436-2424 or go to NLECSTL.org. That's NLECSTL.org.
And welcome back. My guest is Curtis Faulkner. He represents so many different places and so many different things and so many different people. And once again, welcome back, Curtis.
Thank you, Barney.
Curtis, we've been talking about quite a few things. Anything you want to specifically focus in on the last 5 minutes here?
Well, you know, I believe that we are at a point, a political crossroad, that we have to begin to understand that the realities are that when territories become, and territories are communities, mostly occupied by those of us that are said to be black or African Americans, our responsibilities become in making sure that we then take time to create community development plans, plans that in turn allow us to stabilize our tax base so that our school districts can have better opportunities to educate our children, because those things are important. And even from that standpoint, we have to, let me say not even, but in that standpoint, we have to look at how we develop that. What do we need to do that? And we also have an opportunity, a great opportunity, because the experience of our existence in this country is a very marketable experience. It is the value. You know, I have learned that we now should be thinking ourselves as we're the descendants of the enslaved American. We were created by an economic system from Liverpool in reference to our existence. We're the only people who had no choice to come here. So that makes us indigenous. We are the indigenous Americans. And therefore, there's nothing negative about that. And what we need to do is start to make sure that we're recognized in that manner. And legislatively, that has to come about. And so, you know, but we still have to take control of our communities, and we have to ask ourselves, if there was an opportunity for you to take your grandchildren someplace to have a good, what we would call black experience, where would you take them? And so how do we create those good experiences and not necessarily the reflection that oftentimes comes with the bad?
You have so many wonderful ideas and so many different things that have been expressed today. I need you to let the people know how they can reach you and during what hours, you know? Well,
you know, business hours from 8 to 5 from that standpoint, even though I work a lot longer than that seemingly. But again, my telephone number is 314-355-1363. And that represents numbers for the Juneteenth Heritage and Jazz Festival, as well as the Dred Scott Advocates for Justice and Equality, which is a political registered, state-registered political action committee.
And what about the school district?
The school district, you can reach me personally if you need me from that standpoint. I don't have with me the number for the special school district.
But they can get you.
But they can call the special school district, and I'm sure that they then would be able to contact me with information if individuals have questions or desires and information about that particular entity.
We have about a minute left, Curtis. I assume with all the years you've been doing this, your family is very supportive of you, right?
They had to be.
Tell us about it. Tell us about your wife and your children.
Well, you know, I've been married for 27 years, have a wonderful wife, and have 2 young ladies.
Their names are?
Curtis Faulkner, who is getting her master's degree at MSU down in Springfield. She's the anchor for KTTS radio station, country western station, by the way. And she and her sister, her sister is Ahlam, and she in turn is a chemical engineer down in Houston for Frito-Lay. And you know, they just left this morning on their way to Greece as part of their continued adult education.
I can see why Curtis Faulkner is the man he is. Thank you so much, Curtis. Thank you for
Thank
being
you very
with us
much
again.
for having me, Bernie.
Always a pleasure seeing you, and
Yes,
always
sir.
I get so much knowledge every time I speak with you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And I want to thank each and every one of you for visiting us again here at the New Life Evangelistic Center. And it's not too late to drop off some clothing and anything and foods, you know, to make sandwiches and so forth, and the hygienic items to those in need. And support the New Life Evangelistic Center because they're constantly supporting you. We're 2428 Woodson Road in Overland, Missouri. That's between St. Charles Rock Road and Page, very close to Midland Avenue. And our phone number, 314-436-2424. I'm Bernie Hayes. Have a great day. See you next time. Have a good one.